Hello everyone, this is the LEGO Ninjago Skull Sorcerer's Dragon set. It's from Season 13. Well, I live in the United States, where we are just now about 1/3 of the way through Season 12 on our TV stations that carry the show. So technically this is something from next season, and out of respect to all the folks who aren't trying to pirate episodes of the next season, which have actually been shown in some regions, I'm not going to go into all the story details and give you a whole lot of spoilers. If you want all the spoilery stuff, well, you can go find it. But for folks who are just watching along as the show shows up on TV and haven't gotten to this stuff yet, let's just talk about the models and the figures and the details. The set includes 7 minifigures plus 2 connectable terrain builds. Before we get to any of that littler stuff, though, let's focus on the dragon, because that is, after all, the main thing that you're paying for in this set, right? Wings on a winged dragon are very, very important to me personally. So to focus on those first, well, they are nice and wide, good wingspan there, and the material is good. This is cloth. It's a cloth material. It's flexible, doesn't hold crinkles too much. The print is good. They have two values there. They got the gray and the black. The cloth itself is actually white, but you got all these holes in there. It's looking like it's partially decayed over time. Of course, you can see all the skeletal structure that's suggested there, and you actually build out some of these bones for bone structure. The whole dragon is looking like it's either a resurrected skeleton, or something that's just very, very extremely old and has recently gotten a shot of some energy to get it going again. Some glowing green energy source, like we see the possibility of a heart in here. Got some small crystals in various places along the spine and such. As for articulation for these wings, you can see that you have kind of a gull wing, partially raised angle right now. You cannot bring the wings down any farther than that. That's surprising to me. You can bring them up a bit. You can rotate them this way, interestingly. This allows you to do something different, but it's not very useful, right? If you want to fold the wings up, I found the best thing to do is invert them. And you can put it back like that. Now you're looking at the underside, which is not a bad look, actually, and almost makes sense, I think, for something like this. Actually, I think that's not a bad look at all, for something that's supposed to be skeletal like this. So that works, but I really wish that LEGO had made it so that you could flap the wings down. They just don't go down. They're limited. The range of motion is not allowed the way that this is designed. And these wings are not that heavy, so they really didn't need to have the stoppers there to prevent that level of motion to keep things from collapsing accidentally. They have these ball joints here at the shoulders, which are augmented with friction adder pieces, and they work well. Odd choice there. Wings look good, just don't have the flex that I would like to see. The head looks great to me personally. They're following the same basic pattern that they've been using for a little while now, with the brick built heads with a 2x2 brick that is printed to give it the eye detail. That's printed pretty nicely, and then they're using smaller pieces, Exoforce arms and these barbs and claw pieces and such to try to shape things up. But I mean, it's a very genuine build, and I think it looks pretty good. You can kind of bring the lower jaw closer together. You can close that up like so. I mean, there's some good angles here. It's not too complex. It actually goes together very quickly. I think it's if not the last thing, one of the last things that you build in this set. And yeah, I personally like this style, and I feel like LEGO designers may be getting just a little bit better at it as time goes by. There's also plenty of articulation here. You can turn this all the way to the side, all the way to the side. You can angle it up pretty far. You can angle it down all the way. Keeps going. There we go. All the way. That's great. Excellent there. This is a spot for a minifigure to stand or kind of sit. So that's your control position there. Got a couple of banners back here. Let me tell you, I really like the rib cage, especially not just the part up towards the front, the main part of the rib cage, but these little bits back here felt very satisfying to me to put together. It just reminds me of those old die-cut wooden kits for dinosaur skeletons, educational kits for kids. They were so simple, but one of the most satisfying things with those was lining up and putting together all the rib cage parts. And they would go from small to larger, and on a lot of them then they'd go larger to smaller after that. But this, I don't know, simple techniques, but looks good to me, felt good to actually put together. The rib cage, the main rib cage up here, the upper part of it has this movable and removable thing in it, which is, I believe this is actually a new set of molds. It looks just like a set that they've been using for the longest time. I mean, years and years and years, but it doesn't feel like it. This is very frosted. See, it's not transparent, it's translucent. You can feel the texture on the outside, and most importantly, the halves open up. They separate much more easily than the old ones did. The old ones used to really click together, but these kind of fall apart, which is important for one of the action features that or play patterns they expect you to use here is dropping this from the rib cage. You separate those parts out. They're just held together with a rubber band, keeping them together. And then you drop this, and then it's supposed to break apart. And then out of it come these spiders and these black bones. It's supposed to be all very macabre and dark and everything. So for that to actually work a little bit better than it used to is good. I still recommend that you don't close it up all the way if you do want sometimes for this to actually open when you drop it. But it's an interesting thing. And then just continuing, looking at a little bit more of the articulation for this thing, looking at the legs. Well, the upper legs don't move forward and back, unfortunately, but it does have technically knees. They're back here. They're ball joints. You have plenty of range of motion forward and back there, plenty. And yet the joints are still strong enough. You have a little bit of shimmy movement side to side. Not so much rotation, kind of bending parts right there, but there's just a little bit at the knee joint, such as it is, or elbow joint, I guess. And then there's plenty of range of motion at each of the ankles. So these are built up, as you can see, all brick-built stuff. You can also move the individual toes if you want. Most of this stuff is just built and designed pretty well, I think. At the rear legs don't have as many joints. They use the ratcheted joint towards the inside, so this is able to move fully forward and back. It's also able to splay in and out to change the height off the ground. You do have a little bit of limitation here, how far forward and back because of the orientation of this socket joint here, but it still does work. There's still a good amount, and combined with this and also this, that's plenty. You can get just about anything that you want out of all that. So that's good. This is a new piece for 2020. You see that throughout this series. Works just fine. It's basically a 3x3 texture piece. And then you have the tail, which is just free floating back here. Kind of whip around and spin. No, it doesn't spin, but it does whip around. Real quick, here's a look from the underside directly underneath. Not too many funky colors are showing up here. I mean, they do have some of the green, but that's kind of part of the supernatural power that's powering the whole thing. There's that red rubber band inside, but otherwise we're not seeing like red and tan and blue Technic pins and such. I mean, there's a little tiny bit of blue that shows up right there. Not that big of a deal. It's minor. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the use of colors, or the lack thereof, by the designer on this one. And they even used black short Technic pins. No red short Technic pins in this entire build, all black. I think the most of those that we've gotten in that color in quite a long time. They've continued to use that piece since it was introduced in that color every single year in many sets, but it's relatively rare these days. Just a lot of care went into this, I feel. A lot of things were done right. Oh, one little feature I almost forgot to show you are these two shooters. They're the tile shooters. Each one contains within it 3 1x1 round tiles. They're just in the black color. The brown axles are plungers that will fire those out. If you're very careful, you can fire just one at a time, but they're intended to be used as kind of like shotgun shot. So just depress the plunger fully and quickly and they will fire off. Make sure that the head's not in the way. Otherwise, the dragon will shoot itself. Just a basic action figure that's action feature that's kind of tacked on. Doesn't really detract much from the look of the thing, but it's honestly not that useful, in my opinion. These terrain builds, like I mentioned at the beginning, are able to be connected to each other, and this is part of a gaming system, kind of like a tabletop gaming system that LEGO has put together for this season. There are different ways to connect these things, which is really nice. Very simple, all of it is, but just a couple of little hinges in there allow you to change this around. And there's another spot where this one in particular can be connected back over here. And the idea is that the more of these sets from this season you get more of these side builds, and you put them together, and ultimately you can create a whole gaming scene. And they have other things to bring things together. I'm not going to fully go into the whole gameplay every single time I review one of these sets because it's the same basic principle for every single one. So I'll do a single video once I've got all the sets reviewed, just taking you through all of these components connected together. But the basic idea is that, you see these squares, those are spots where you can jump. So a minifigure may start here, and then you move different amounts and different things happen along the way. You use this, which is like a spinjitzu dice piece. You can just throw it or you can spin it. You can also put a minifigure down in there, just like a traditional cyclone part. That was a really weak spin, but it's actually easier to do if you have a figure in there. But, you spin it up, eventually it falls whatever is on top. Well, that's the number of places that you move. It's a very straightforward board game sort of setup. You move that number, and then if you're in an engagement, if you're actually fighting or something, then you score a hit or you score a loss on a given turn. And so let's look at this one here. Like I said, we'll look at all of them together once we're done. Maybe you start here, you jump here, you jump here. Oh, this can rotate. Now you can jump out there. Look at that. You can pick up a health point there. That's cool. I think you have to use your imagination if you want to include this gem in the gameplay. But after you go there, you can come back, rotate this around, allows you to move on to the next section. That's pretty cool. That dual molded skeleton head looks pretty good. Hey, you got some of that green fire there. That's relevant. Over here, I think this looks even nicer, even though it's a smaller thing. And it has a built-in action feature, more of an action feature. When you jump onto this, if you're not able to skip past it, if you land here, well, you get hit by this statue. Again, people watching and commenting, no spoilers for folks who are not able to see season 13 yet because, well, they're on season 12 in their region. There's some relevance to that statue. Might have 1, 2, maybe even 3 names. But yeah, that's all more part of the story. As far as the toy is concerned here, there's a spot, there's a spot, there's a spot. And then here's one of the swords of deliverance. So you can pick that up and wield that. This is the ivory one. These are pretty exquisitely detailed. I like them a lot. I actually prefer the darker one, the shadow one, which is just the same thing with the colors reversed. I think this looks better from a distance, but you come up close and you can actually see the black inside of there. So yeah, it's not absolutely deluxe, but it's not terrible. Overall, I like the system that they've come up with here. I like systems in general, and the ability to add things together is really good. Plus, you don't need to add everything together. You can easily add to this with your own pieces. It's a very simple system. There's nothing exclusive here or anything, so, set up your own setup, use just what you have there, customize, expand, or take advantage of an additional thing that they have in the set. And that would be this. It looks like it's going to be just basically an ad, but over here they explain gameplay. Feel free to hit pause if you want right there. I'll open it up some more. They explain without words the basic principles of gameplay, which is just the stuff that I just explained, right? And this is all ad over here, but the other side, well, this is a whole playing field. So without having to buy a ton of sets, you get, you know, just your basic playing area. I don't know what all those runes are supposed to represent just at this time, but there's an extra cool thing that they've done here of giving you spots to connect the side builds from different sets. So if you do collect them all, well, you can use all of those either together or with this also. Or if you have just one, then use this as your main playing field and then connect just the one you want wherever you want. So, you know, lots of options. Options are good. And extending the play possibilities, leaving some things a little bit open-ended so there isn't necessarily always just one way to do things, I think it's all good. Two of the figures in this set also come with these stands. These are convenient to go with gameplay. This is your health bar down here. So way better than what they did for Prime Empire, right? Here you can actually just knock a heart off if you want. That totally makes sense. And if you want, you can pull them off and just dump them in there. Or you could use this as your space to hold on to collected items or, you know, extra weapons, different things to switch out. I just think this is really well played right here by LEGO. And it's, again, a simple build that you can probably replicate in some way without even using necessarily the specialized parts. So, you know, at the very least, it gets you started in a good direction. So here's Hero Kai with his golden armor accents, including the double golden shield there. It's got the pearl gold color plus a lot of the metallic gold print on top of it. Gives for some nice effects, gives it a little bit of suggestion of depth, and also the insignia on his chest there is similar to that. Not necessarily the best looking design. When you put it all together, I think that center part, maybe a little bit too much gold there. I don't know. Could have used more lines or something. But overall, I like the parts. I like the fact that you actually build up the weapon here, and I like dual molding for the headgear. The reason for them looking kind of like knights this time around, well, it's explained in the story. It actually makes sense there. Kind of. Mostly. Two faces are available for him, and let me take one piece off, and this is going to let you see the rest of the print on the back of the torso there. Hero J gets silver for his accent color, and I feel like this works out just a little bit better with the design, the geometric design on his torso. Again, just personal opinion. He does get gold for his weapon, which is a flail, and that gets the built-up end, which looks pretty pointy and, well, useful, usable. Works out. Doesn't get a bladed weapon this time, which is fine. You know, getting a little bit of variety there. Don't mind it. There's a clear look at that more angry face, and around the back, you can see the alternate face, as well as the print on the back of the torso there. Here's Hero Nia. Of course, she does not get one of those nice stands with the health bar and everything, which is kind of messed up, but we're basically regressing back to where we've been previously with Nia, where she just doesn't get the same stuff that the rest of the members of the team get. And I'm pretty sure that's because LEGO is like, look, most of our customers for this line are boys, and they're just not playing with Nia as much as they are with all of the boy characters because they're boys. And that's just going to happen. I think LEGO tried to give Nia more prominence, but just didn't work out that well. They'll probably try again in the future. I hope so. But at least the figure here, I think, looks good and has gotten, you know, a good amount of design work, and, you know, is definitely on par with the others. There's that face, and that print came through pretty nice and clear as well. Happy about that. There's the other face. And the alternate, well, not the alternate print, but the print that most of the time you're not going to see on the back of the torso. A lot of it is metallic. Now here's the Skull Sorcerer. This is a unique looking character. Well, unique within the worlds of LEGO up to this point. I like the tattered details on the underside of the headgear there, the hat. That's an interesting piece. It's dual molded, and, well, it's just not quite done the way that I've seen other dual molded pieces from LEGO up to this point. I'll show you that a little bit better momentarily, but you also have this skull piece, which is obviously some sort of magical artifact. It does not glow in the dark, everybody. Sorry. It just kind of glows in the day. You know, it's a very bright color, that spring green color. Good print on that. Looks pretty good. But again, not glow in the dark. Good printing for the torso. Down into the base robes there. Got the wings back here, so he's actually able to fly around. And as we take some stuff off, I'll go ahead and show you this. Look at that. See, the mask is built into the front of that. That's interesting. How they pulled that off. All is just one piece. It's different. Not what I was expecting for this character. It does have that single face underneath. They don't have an alternate one on the back because it is exposed. The back of the head is exposed with the headgear on. And beneath the wings, well, it's actually a pretty nice print, a pretty nice pattern there. That again, you just aren't able to see most of the time because you're probably going to leave the wings on. Because if he can fly, why would he not? These dark skeletons are called Awaken Warriors. And again, no story spoilers here, but I can tell you that these are a little bit more difficult to kill than your typical white skeletons, or to re-kill, I guess, to defeat. So that just means they have a little more value. You know, these aren't just thrown in as quick to get rid of, quick to dispose of cannon fodder soldiers. You know, they actually have some power. They actually have some tricks up their sleeve in how they fight, and it's good. You know, plus I think they look pretty cool as well. Black bone pieces. I think that's a new color for that doggy bone piece that's been around for quite some time. And these have helmets that are removable, just a standard piece. So you can put a lot of different minifig parts on top of that head, or you can just leave it exposed like that. The shoulder armor piece is its own thing. No face on the back, of course. You know, it's fully sculpted up, but yeah, pretty good stuff actually. Here are the leftover spare pieces, including some extra tiles for the tile shooters on the dragon. I actually feel like there are fewer pieces here than there should be, and that's because at least one of the bags had no spare parts whatsoever. I've seen LEGO doing that more and more lately, where they're just trimming excess and improving their profit margins ever so slightly by not including the normal 1x1 or thereabouts, you know, smaller pieces as extras in some bags in some sets. Finally, over here, this is what the sticker sheet looked like. So you see there really were not many stickers used in this set whatsoever. And half of this sheet just went to the banners on the back. You know, they're double-sided, so that's what all this is. And these are just little things that are used for the tiles on the terrain pieces. This set is $80 US for over 1,000 pieces, and I'm 1,000% okay with that. The dragon itself is big, the minifig selection is fine, the side builds are really good and useful. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this. Again, the main thing that I don't like with this set is the limitation of articulation of the wings, not being able to flap the wings down. And the more I look at it, I think it's really easy actually to modify that, to fix that, to give yourself more range of motion for that, if you want it. Yeah, so I would recommend just looking at the pieces, taking a couple parts apart, and then just modifying in that additional movement. It would make me happier personally. I don't know about you. I like this little game system. Did I show you this, by the way? That these things can rotate in and out. I don't know if it really matters. They're not able to pinch all the way in and grab a minifigure. It's just something I noticed I may have forgotten to show you. But I like the system that they've come up with there. You know, it just adds a little extra value, extends play possibilities. You don't need to buy all the sets in order to play that game. Like, you can just play it with just the pieces included here. You can add to it very easily because it's very straightforward how they've done it. You don't need to use the exact pieces, and there are no specialized pieces there that are required to make it work. I mean, it's really straightforward stuff. It's good. I like that. I would like to see more of that in the future. I'd like to see LEGO doing more things like that, of bringing in the board game sort of element. It's so easy to do. LEGO is a perfect medium for it. So I'm all for that. I do think that if they're going to include 3 ninja and they all have, the same outfits and they're kind of at the same level. Give them all the same amount of equipment. Like, they should have included a stand for Nia. It's just awkward. The way that they did this, I understand. Okay, yeah, they have different priorities based on sales, whatever. Still, it's just awkward the way it's done. And it doesn't matter who it was. If they didn't have the stand for Jay, still, it would be awkward that there was one. It doesn't matter which one it is. It's awkward that one is missing the stand. It's not that many pieces. And those stands are nice with the little adjustable health bar that you can actually work with compared to, again, the Prime Empire ones where it was always showing you just one thing. I also don't remember if I showed you this. Wait, I've got a piece almost coming off here, but I don't remember if I showed you this. There's a little place on the back where you can just squeeze that and make that fall out. So you can do a little bombing run with it. It's a little bit more convenient than reaching your fingers forward, which isn't that difficult at all. I mean, it's right there. A lot of good design went into this whole thing and this whole season. I think it's kind of cool that they're not telling you the full story. They're not even giving you any major story spoilers with the sets or with the set descriptions. Just a lot of the stuff that normally would be spoiler material isn't covered here compared to the actual show. I have seen the full season 13 online, and I think they're doing a pretty good job with that. It helps to lessen the sting of the staggered releases where things come out months earlier in one region than another, and then they swap, and then it's the region that last time got things first. Well, now they suddenly get things last. They go back and forth on that. It's awkward, but I think this is a good decision to mislead a little bit with the story direction. I think they've done a good job with it in this series. And again, once I've reviewed all of the ones from this season that have these terrain pieces with the game system, I'll try to connect them all together and just show you all of that kind of, in context together. The full board game all put together. Let me know what you think of the set. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you want to check out the builds, again, real-time build, speed build, 2 separate channels, see the end screen, see the video description, and I'll see you soon.